Good morning, I'm Trisha Bear. Welcome to the Culinary Command Post. Today I'm going to show you how to make Alice Springs chicken with homemade honey mustard sauce and homemade Parmesan sauce. So the recipe calls for 4 chicken breasts, which is about a pound of chicken. I have a little bit more than that here, but if you have more than 4 breasts, just double the marination part. So what I'm doing is I'm marinating it in buttermilk and also garlic butter at the same time. I've already washed the chicken and I've poked holes in it with a fork, and then now I'm gonna tenderize it with this meat tenderizer. And you want to tenderize both sides of the chicken. These were specifically thick chicken breasts, so I went ahead and cut them in half just so they all cook the same. And then I do have some chicken tenders on the side that we're going to cook with them. And that makes your meat a lot more tender, as well as when you marinate it in buttermilk and also garlic butter. And I'm just going to let it marinate for about 30 minutes while I'm getting the bacon put in the oven, the mushrooms sautéed, and then also showing you how to do the honey mustard dressing or sauce that's going to go with it. Alright, and I did cover the cutting board with saran wrap on the bottom, and then I also covered it again on the top. That way the chicken juice doesn't fly all over the kitchen, and it's more safe that way. Okay, so I'm taking off the saran wrap. And I'm going to pour the buttermilk in the bowl along with the garlic butter. I'm going to mix them up real fast with a whisk. Alright, so I'm mixing the buttermilk with the garlic butter. And this is going to be our marination. Now, this is the first step in marinating. And I'm also going to put some Griller's Choice, McCormick Griller's Choice marination on it and seasoning after I let it sit in here for about 30 minutes in the buttermilk. Okay, and then you can also add some garlic powder or onion powder if you want, either into the marination or on top of the chicken. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some on the chicken. Alright, and now I'm going to actually put it into the bowl with the buttermilk and the garlic butter. And the next thing I'm going to do while it's marinating is I'm going to lay out the bacon on a cookie sheet. And I've got the oven already on at 350 degrees. And I cut the bacon slices in half because I'm going to put those on top of the chicken breast once the chicken breast gets done. And we're going to actually saute the chicken breast on the stove, and then we're going to let it finish in the oven so that the mushrooms and bacon and the cheese can all marinate together or cook together in the oven. Alright, so then now I'm going to put the bacon slices on the cookie sheet. And I usually cook my bacon in the oven. You can cook it on the stove. I just think it takes more time that way. And you could be doing other things while it's in the oven. So I put it in a 350 degree oven for about 20 minutes. Just to get it, crispy enough so we can put it on the chicken along with the mushrooms and the cheese. Because I'm making Alice Springs chicken, my version of the Alice Springs chicken. Okay. Alright, so I've got the bacon cut in half. It's hickory smoked bacon. I'm just going to lay it on the cookie sheet on top of parchment paper, close together. And then we're going to put it in the oven for about 20 minutes. Once I get the bacon in the oven, I'm going to show you how to make the homemade honey butter sauce, or the and I'm just using 1 pack of bacon, which we're going to put probably 3 slices on each piece of chicken once it gets done and the chicken's done. Okay, so now we've got the bacon cut in half pieces, half-size pieces on parchment paper. Now we're going to put it in the oven for 20 minutes at 350 degrees. We just want to get it lightly crispy. Okay, now we got it in the oven, 350 degrees for 20 minutes. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make our honey mustard sauce. Okay, to make the honey mustard sauce for the Alice Springs chicken, we're going to use a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise, honey, which is about a 1/4 cup. Then we're going to use a 1/2 cup of mustard. The recipe does say Dijon mustard. And then we're also going to add a 1/4 cup of light corn syrup. And that's it. That's the 4 things that actually make up the honey mustard sauce. We're going to get it all poured in the bowl, and then we're going to mix it with a whisk. This is my 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. This is actually Miracle Whip. I call it mayonnaise, but this one here is Miracle Whip. All right, and then now we're going to put in our 1/4 cup of honey. And then the last thing we're going to put in is our Dijon mustard. Okay, so now we're going to use a whisk and mix it in a bowl. Alright, I'm going to taste it real fast, make sure we have enough of the right ingredients in it. It tastes fine, but I'm going to add a little bit more honey because it has more of a mustard taste. So I'm going to add a little bit of honey to it. You can either add honey or you can add corn syrup. I'm going to add Shell, you can put it on hold for just a second. I've got to find the corn syrup. I didn't know I was going to add more to it, so. Pretty sure I brought it. I just got to find it. Okay. We're going to add honey instead. Okay. So we're going to add a little bit of honey to it, and you can add honey or you can add more like corn syrup. Right, okay. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of honey to the honey mustard sauce. And you don't have to, I just taste more mustard on the one I just tasted, and I'd rather have more honey, the honey taste. Try it a little bit. Yeah. I like it better with that. Not as much mustard, but more honey. Okay. Alright, and that's how you make the honey mustard sauce for the Alice Springs chicken. So next we're going to actually make the mushrooms are already cut up. So we're going to saute the mushrooms in butter, and I use a little bit of butter and a little bit of oil because butter burns. So we're going to use a little bit of butter, and I have these butter balls that's already made up by Land of Lakes, which makes it convenient when you're cooking. So we're going to go over to the stove and we're going to saute the mushrooms. Okay, so now we're going to saute the mushroom. It's only take about probably 10 minutes. And I'm going to add about 3 balls of this butter balls from Land of Lakes. And on the mushrooms, you can put about a tablespoon of onion powder and a tablespoon of garlic powder. The mushrooms will be done in a few minutes. And then I've got 8 more minutes on the oven for the bacon. Let me check the bacon. And after I put the seasoning on the chicken, I'm going to saute it on the stove, and then I'm going to finish it in the oven. It has to be like 145 degrees with an internal temperature of 145 degrees, and that's how you know the chicken's done. Okay, so now I'm gonna add this chicken marinade mix. And I'm just gonna sprinkle it all over the chicken. And I'm going to place the chicken into the pans after I get the marination mix on it. And before I put it in the pans, I'm going to put some aluminum foil in the pans, so that way it's a lot easier to clean the pans up. So okay, so I'm going to put 2 sheets of foil in the pan. And I'm just going to spray the pan a little bit on the bottom so that it doesn't get stick to the foil doesn't stick to the pan as bad. Just like that. Alright, so now we're going to put the chicken in the pan. Well, we're going to put the chicken in that pan after we get it sauteed on the stove. Alright, so we're going to move the chicken over to the stove. We're going to check on our mushrooms, which they're done. So I'm going to take them out of the pan and set them to the side where we're cooking our chicken. Alright, so we've got our mushrooms cooked. I'm trying to drain the juice off of them so I don't have that on our chicken. Our bacon is still in the oven, so I put it in there about 30 minutes in this oven. Okay, so there's our mushrooms. We're going to let those cool while we're cooking the chicken. I'm going to drain the juice off the pan. And we're just going to use the same pan. Okay, so I'm going to put some oil in the pan. And then I'm going to put about 3 balls of butter. Let that melt. So as that melts, we're going to put our chicken in, cook it on one side, and then turn it over and cook it on the other side. And then we're going to put it in our square pans to go in the oven. And I'm cooking it on medium-high heat, so between medium and high. Alright, our butter's melted and our oil's hot. And we're going to put in our chicken. If you have tongs, that's the easiest thing to use to turn the chicken. So we're going to use these. Alright. And all we're trying to do is get it lightly browned on both sides, and then we'll actually finish cooking it in the oven. Just make sure that your stove is on medium-high heat. Okay, so now I've got all of my chicken sautéed in garlic butter and oil and seasoning. And so now I'm ready to assemble the chicken. And the first thing I'm going to put on it is honey mustard dressing. I made it homemade. Okay, so I'm just going to put a teaspoon of honey mustard on each piece of chicken. And we're actually going to finish it in an oven of 350 degrees. You really only need to have the chicken to have an internal temperature of 145, and that tells you it's done. So we're just putting a teaspoon on the chicken itself. And then we're going to top that with the bacon, and then the mushrooms, and then the cheese. And that's all there is to making Alice Springs chicken. We did marinate it in buttermilk and also garlic butter before we sauteed it on the stove. Okay, let me do the second pan. Alright, so now we're adding the mustard, honey mustard onto the chicken. I'm just putting a light coat, maybe like a teaspoon on each piece. And we're going to finish it in the oven, and that way we can get our cheese melted as well. Alright, so I have all my chicken pieces lightly covered with the honey mustard and flat on the baking dish. Alright, so that's the honey mustard that we made homemade. Okay, and so now we're going to put on the bacon so it can flavor the chicken a little bit. We did cook the chicken in the remaining bacon grease that we got after we got it out of the oven. So that just adds another level of taste when you add the bacon grease on top. Alright, so now we're going to add, let's see, we have quite a bit of chicken, so we're going to add 2 pieces of bacon per chicken. You can add 3, whatever you like. We're going to add 2 on each piece of chicken. Alright, we just got one more tray to put the bacon on, and then we're going to add our mushrooms next. Alright, just want to make sure all the chicken has at least 1 piece and maybe 2 pieces of bacon on it. I had more chicken than just the pound that was in the recipe. Okay, so every piece of chicken has 1 or 2 pieces of bacon on it. Alright, so now we're going to add the mushrooms and then the cheese on top. I've already cooked the mushrooms on the stove. You can just sprinkle those on top of the chicken and the bacon. Alright, we got some more over here. And then we're going to put the cheese on it. Now I shredded smoked Gouda cheese, smoked green onion cheddar, and smoked Gouda. So that's the 3 type that I've used. You can use whatever you like. And then after I get that sprinkled on, I'm going to put a little bit of cheddar cheese and garlic cheese on it. It's garlic cheddar, actually. Don't put the juice on it because it'll make your mushrooms slide off, and you want to try to keep them on top of the chicken. All right. Alright, so now we're going to add the shredded cheddar cheese. On top of the chicken, and then I'm going to add 1 piece of the garlic onion cheddar cheese that I'm going to put on here. Yeah, it's actually bacon ranch cheddar cheese that I got from the deli, and I had them slice it up. I'm just sprinkling it on top of all of the chicken with the mushrooms and the bacon and the honey mustard sauce. And then we're going to put it in the oven about 10, maybe 15 minutes, just long enough to melt the cheese. And then I'll test the chicken and make sure it's completely done. We cooked most of it on the stove, but it only has to be 145-degree temperature on the internal temperature of the chicken. And I've got the oven heated up right now at 350 degrees. Alright, now we're just going to put 1 slice of cheese on each chicken, and then we're ready to put it in the oven. And you can serve this with couscous or broccoli or whatever you want. We're going to make a homemade couscous, and that's what we're going to serve it with. Alright. Just going to top this one with cheese, and we're ready to put it in the oven. Alright, we're going to stick it in the oven about 10 or 15 minutes just to get the cheese melted. And then I'm going to temp check the chicken to make sure it's 145 degrees. Alright, got the chicken going in the oven. 350 degrees. And you don't have to cover it or anything, so we're going to put it on for about 10 minutes and then we're going to check it. Take the chicken out and test it and make sure it has an internal temperature of 145 degrees. I'm going to take this. Alright, so let me test it and make sure it's 145 degrees Fahrenheit. Test it and make sure. Oh, it's past 145.